Brought to you by Day and Night Heating and Cooling Products in Temperature Pro Columbus.
This report is
all right, how much time we got?
Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering.
Unbelievable with executive orders he's been putting out. I mean, how many days has he been in? It's amazing. Well, he finally did it yesterday. I don't know what time yesterday, February 7th. He put out another presidential executive order called Protecting Second Amendment Rights. Wow. And I'm just going to tell you what it is. It's pretty short, so I'm going to read it to you, except for the last section. It says, by authority vested in me as President and by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1, purpose. The Second Amendment is an indispensable safeguard of security and liberty. It has preserved the right of the American people to protect ourselves, our families, and our freedoms since the founding of our great nation. Because it is foundational to maintaining all other rights held by Americans, the right to keep and bear arms must not be infringed. Yay! All right, Section 2, Plan of Action. Within 30 days of the date of this order, again, which was February 7th, the Attorney General shall examine all orders, regulations, guidance, plans, and international agreements and other actions of executive departments and agencies to assess any ongoing infringements of the Second Amendment rights of our citizens and present a proposed plan of action to the President through the Domestic Policy Advisor to protect Second Amendment rights of all Americans. Wow, that's a plan of action. Okay, so in developing such a plan of action, the Attorney General shall review, at a minimum, all presidential agencies' actions from January of 21 through February of 2025 that purport to promote safety but may have infringed upon the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. Also, they shall look at rules promulgated by the Department of Justice, including any by the ATF from January 21 through January of 25, pertaining to firearms or federal firearms licensees. All right, getting our FFLs in there. The agency's plans, orders, and actions regarding so-called enhanced regulatory enforcement policy, that was that zero tolerance policy, pertaining to firearms and federal firearms licensees. Also, they shall review reports and related documents issued by the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention and the positions taken by the United States in any and all ongoing potential litigation that affects or could affect the ability of Americans to exercise their Second Amendment rights.
GC, this is huge.
I mean, the last one, and I'm done. Okay, real quickly. The implementation. Upon the submission of the proposed plan of action prescribed in the Section 2 of this order, the Attorney General shall work with the Domestic Policy Advisor to finalize a plan of action and establish process for implementation. This is to protect our Second Amendment rights.
It's
huge.
It's huge.
Huge. Huge.
It's huge. It is.
Huge.
It is. Because, I mean, you look at all the things that this potentially touches, and I love where it said all the things that are out there that are called the Gun Safety Acts that had anything but that in it to review it. I mean, it's not to say we want it just wide open out there, but we have to have some logic-based policies and procedures, and that we have nothing of the such.
Well, the Democrats in the last administration have done nothing but try to just strangle, any way possible, the firearms industry. Through banking, through regulations,
absolutely.
To cut them down through exports, where we export to other countries, to police. Nope, can't export anything anymore. It's crazy.
It's just crazy. And you would think, John, you would think that the people have spoken, and that the Second Amendment and firearms is kind of seeing a resurgence. And so what do the Democrats do? If they're out there looking and saying, we need to get more in touch with the people, who did they just elevate higher up in the party this week?
Yeah, this is what the Democrats have done. So it was funny, not to belabor the whole thing, but you saw these people when they were electing the head of the the National Democratic National Committee, and they said, hey, there's not enough minorities, not enough this, not enough women, not enough this, not enough transition. But they put a white male in charge of the Democratic National Committee, and then last Saturday they elected a vice chair. So if this doesn't tell you where they're heading, the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee happens to be a gentleman named David Hogg, H-O-G-G, who is 24 years old. So what does this have to do with the gun show that we're talking about today? Well, guess what? David Hogg, 24 years old, was a student during the 2018 Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Florida, the massacre of someone else who should not have even had a gun because he had 47 encounters with FBI, police, everything, and they still let him have it. So after the gunman attacked the school, Hogg, as I mentioned, was a student at the time. He co-founded a group called March for Our Lives and participated in national protests calling for stricter gun laws that drew hundreds of thousands of followers across the nation. So they put him in charge. He goes, I'm grateful, this 24-year-old said. I don't take it lightly. It's time to get to work. And what is his work? Well, he is best known for pushing the Democratic Party to enforce hard line against gun rights. So here's his quotes. Just in 2023, you have no right to a gun, he wrote in 2023. You are not a militia. When you're talking about your Second Amendment rights, you're talking about the state's right to have a National Guard. The modern interpretation of the Second Amendment is a ridiculous fraud pushed for decades by the gun lobby. And his other quote was, the same year, he said, if you don't support banning semi-automatic rifles, you should leave the Democratic Party and join the Guns Over People Party, he wrote. So, and of course, he was loudly applauded by the Minnesota governor and former VP Tim Walz. But anyway,
so this is where they're going.
I mean, this is where they want to go. They chose him because they think he could affect the youth. Colleges, everything. He's 24 years old. Get out there and promulgate the anti-gun. No one should even own a gun, right, according to him. So there you go.
So what a nut job they're putting out. I mean, it's typical. They can't see through the forest here. I mean, they can't look at it and say, okay, maybe we should sit down with fellow Americans who.
That's not what they want.
Yeah,
they want control and they want you disarmed. Simple as that.
Obviously, just like he says. What other stuff you got, JC? How about machine guns, JC?
This is a really huge story with much more implications than it says on the beginning. All right, so a federal judge just ruled. It was a district judge. His name was Judge Carlton Reeves for the Southern District of Mississippi. He's also chair of the United States Sentencing Commission, so he's a big guy. He ruled that merely possessing a machine gun is not a crime. And this was a case that was brought up, and he dismissed charges against Justin Brown, a Mississippi man with no prior criminal record, over his ownership of an unregistered machine gun. And he found that the federal law effectively banning the sale and possession of new production or unregistered machine guns is unconstitutional. He said it's applied to Brown's specific circumstances, okay? He argued that Supreme Court's ruling in the Bruin case required him to reach that conclusion. This is really important because it goes beyond just the machine gun. He said, while the ruling does not invalidate the law wholesale, because it just impacts the Mississippi and that person on that case, what it does do is create doubt about the constitutionality applied to otherwise law-abiding Americans. If other federal judges agree with Reeves' assessment, it may also help to establish a firmer standard by which weapons are and which weapons aren't considered in common use. And this is where it comes into play. And if things are in common use, therefore are protected by the Second Amendment of the Supreme Court's Bruin ruling. So Reeves, who was an Obama appointee, he said he worked through the Bruin standard of the case to come to this decision, and his argument that the Second Amendment doesn't protect Second Amendment rights just doesn't pass muster, because in there the weapons that aren't protected have to be both dangerous and unusual. So he says basically, that the Bruin decision said that in order for the law to be followed, the ultimate problem with the government in the case that although machine guns certainly are dangerous, but that does not explain how they are unusual. He said machine guns are more dangerous than the revolvers and some automatic weapons. That's no doubt about that. However, that the dangerousness is not the end of the matter, because firearms can be dangerous and constitutionally protected. And I'm getting to the meat of this here. So the government has the burden to prove that they can't be restricted unless they're both dangerous and unusual. And he said, in the case it showed that there were 740,000 registered machine guns in the United States, and that sheer number alone means that they are not unusual. And this could set a precedent for how things are come out.
Definitely. JC Lee, got to jump to the bottom of our news. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the news and about new items just released at SHOT Show and some exciting announcements coming up. We're on Target broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms Range, and we'll be back right after the break.
Imagine
you can wrap that up when we come back, too.
Okay.
We were pushing.
I did.
Yeah, you don't watch the clock, JC.
No, but he's right here. It's right here, John, or Ed.
But this is,
that's you.
It's not just an individual case, but, so in that one court case that it was in Washington, Oregon, one of the anti-gun states, when it went to it was a full panel, which like 13 to 15 judges, the one lead judge who was on the case said, it says dangerous and unusual. But why couldn't it be dangerous or unusual? He changed the and to or in his writing, saying, so they can be dangerous or they can be unusual, and we can ban them all. So they upheld a ban of ARs out there because they're dangerous. He just went with the one.
What gun is not dangerous?
Well, that's the point. That's why they want to take them all away. No, seriously. This is what they want to
stupidity.
do. No, it's what, if you want to disarm the populace, you have to come up with stuff like this. But the
court
said both dangerous and, like a hand grenade, it's dangerous and it's unusual. You can't have those, bazookas, things like that. But the fact is that, and I did not know that there's 740,000.
So when I wanted to ask you, when here you can just hit when they said that, do they mean physically in this country registered and unregistered?
No, this according to the ATF. These are they said. Well, I sped it up because we were coming to the end. But they said during the court case, Brown's attorney showed that machine guns are far from unusual. He noted that the estimate of over 740,000 machine guns were in circulation in the United States based on the ATF data, and the government did not dispute that number.
So that's in circulation.
In
so
circulation
add
in the
a
United
couple 100,000 more not in circulation.
So but just the fact that those are there, and they.
1 minute.
All right.
And I can tell the rest of the audience this, but just that number, amendment protection, and he said, 740,000 are no small number. Therefore, the government's argument, was that it wasn't in common use, was not applicable, and he dismissed the case.
Oh, okay. You're back on there.
That's good news.
So we'll talk about the KSG. I got some other announcements.
Yeah, I got a couple announcements too.
What do you have?
I'm going to wait till we're back on. Is that okay? I'm not going to tell you ahead of time. You say I never show prep. I'm prepped.
That's a big
Prep H.
Big
No.
case.
Preparation H.
No. It ain't funny.
5 seconds.
It's funny when I turn your mic off.
Well, what else is
Live from LEPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric, joined today my good friend Big Ed to my right and my other good friend JC to my left. We're finally up on Facebook and YouTube.
Yes, and I'm watching both of them, so just throw out your comments. Let's hear it all. Come on.
And JC, so just to finish on with the story before we went into the news, judge ruling machine guns may not be something that has to be.
What I think the important point is, that he covered machine guns, and that was this particular case, and it only applies to Mr. Brown. But as I mentioned before, that if other judges, take a look at this,
precedent.
Hey, wait a minute, to ban them, they have to be both dangerous and unusual. And he came down to the in the case, which is pretty. This is pretty exciting. He argued that the evidence showed that machine guns are far from unusual, and they noted that over 740,000 machine guns were in circulation in the United States, based on ATF data, and the government in the case did not argue against that. They said, okay, yeah, that's kind of what they are, and he said, wow, that many would make it a pool large enough to fall under Second Amendment protection, because he said that his quote was, 740,000 is no small number. The government presents no argument or explanation as to why such a large figure is somehow not common. Therefore, they fall under the protection of our Second Amendment rights. So,
well, definitely interesting. Guys, a couple random things actually coming up, and I don't have, March 1st. March 1st. I think that's a Saturday. March 1st.
Are we having a show?
Make sure you guys are here. Ed, there's a show every week unless I tell you there's not a show. March 1st, guys, is Glock Days here at LEPD, and it's more than just the normal Glock Days. I don't have the list of everything we're doing, but a representative from Glocks will be here, get to test and shoot a bunch of different guns, giveaways, all kinds of stuff going on March 1st. So it's about 2-3 weeks away.
3 weeks, according to the
3
audience member.
weeks.
There you go. So that make sure you have that on your calendar. Something up here is good news, since we're dishing out good news today.
Good news.
Ammo sales.
Yes.
We got word from one of our biggest distributors, actually biggest manufacturers that we deal with, that not only were they keeping ammo prices the same from last year, which we would have been happy with, they dropped ammo prices.
Great.
And so we had, and we were talking internally here, we keep, some of the common calibers, we try to stay current, and we go through it enough that if there is ebb and flows on what we pay, we adjust the prices accordingly. Where it becomes difficult is if we have so many rounds in inventory, we buy more at a lower price. At what point do you start dropping that price? You have to look at cost average and stuff like that. Well, we did it this week, and 9mm we're always pretty. We try to be pretty aggressive with that. But other common calibers for range ammo, 40, 45, 380, 38, 357. They all came down in price. Some of them, guys, came down $4 a box.
Wow.
And that was partly because of how our inventory was, but nonetheless, there was a significant drop in ammo prices this week here at the store. So if it's something you've been waiting for, now is not a bad time, and hopefully smooth sailing for the near future on prices.
Wow, that'd be
good news. Stock up now. I need some 45 and I need some 380 for my new 380.
There you go.
I understand my 380. It uses less of everything than a 9mm, and it costs more. And
One other thing, guys, too. I don't think we mentioned this last week. We used to be a dealer for Oakley. There was a point in time there where they allowed dealers in. We were a dealer. We sold some Oakley sunglasses. They no longer allow that. So we have some clearance Oakley sunglasses. If you're in the market for some sunglasses, I think we have, 10, 15 pairs left. Come ask one of the sales guys. They can show those to you. And what else we got? Okay, here's this one, guys. Have you guys ever gone out there and watched some of the podcasts from attorneys? Now, I will say, Derek DeBross, our friend, good. It's a good informational podcast, but some of those ones are, a little boring. Well, our friend Steve Palmer has a podcast. It's called LawyerTalkPodcast.com, and we've actually been on it a few times. Well, we did a segment with him probably a couple weeks ago. We filmed it and did it, and it was one of his interns was considering purchasing a firearm. So we went through the process. Well, we were on his show. We are returning the favor, and here in a couple weeks, I'm not sure the date yet, they're going to come and be on our show, and we're going to film her coming in, going through the process of, the thought process and the process of purchasing the gun and training and so forth. So
And she'll be able to take questions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, his podcast is really informative. I think he talks about these things they don't teach you in law school. So he gets kind of down in the weeds on some of this stuff. A lot of it gun related. I think that's part of his specialty. But it's always fascinating to listen and be a part of that.
Yeah, it really is. Keeping up to date on changes of what judges say, because a law is a law, but it doesn't really make a difference until a judge decides this is what it means.
And actually, I meant to say this earlier, but talking about friends and attorneys, Derek DeBross, who specializes in firearms-related items, I spoke to him this week back to the New Albany shooter about the pink slip, and he said one of the things that's important to note about taking away due process or taking away the constitutional rights of the Second Amendment for someone is that in Ohio, and I'm going to paraphrase this, there was something that came down several years ago, a grant money or something from the federal government given to the states if they wanted it, that says, hey, if you put a process in place, if somebody is deemed mentally incompetent or defective and their constitutional rights are taken away, the federal government was giving money to help put a process in place for them to get their gun rights back if it was appropriate down the road. So maybe they had, a point of time in their life, but now they're better and so forth. Ohio is not one of those states.
Really?
So he says that part of the reason, too, that this is so important to look at somebody being adjudicated mentally defective, especially in Ohio, is that if that happens to you, he says, his words, near impossible to get your gun rights back at a later date.
Wow.
So it just goes to show you, too, it's something we have to take serious if we're going to deem somebody mentally incompetent and take away their rights. And maybe some people that should be, but it's something you have to take serious going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I've done news stories in other states where that has happened, something that happened 40 years ago when you're in college and you're charged with a domestic violence, with break up with a girlfriend, and now he goes to apply for a gun. They go, nope, you had a domestic violence, and it was like college spat and 40 years ago.
You've done news stories in other states?
How about other states, Edward? Wow. Hey, so speaking of this, guys, Gun of the Week. Gun of the Week. So we're big fans of Kel-Tec. Big fans of the KSG shotgun. How can you not be, right?
Oh, right.
Well, we got something in this week. We've had it in, but it's been a while, and it's sitting here in front of us. It is a KSG, and I am not sure of the name they call it, but it looks like a typical KSG with an 18-inch barrel, except, Ed, you'll notice the fore end does not go the entire way of the barrel. There is a forward grip that has a built-in light. And the intent of this, it has an 18-inch barrel, so you can come in today and purchase it. It's about the normal price of a KSG. But if you send paperwork in, NFA paperwork for SBS short-barreled shotgun, you can have this in your possession when you get the paperwork back, which is actually coming back extremely quick. Then you can have the barrel chopped down, and now you have a short-barreled shotgun that is really neat. Really neat.
Really
it holds,
and really short.
6. I think it holds 4 and 4, 8. I think it holds 9 rounds in that very small package. If you take down the barrel.
Yeah, that holds. Obviously, it's shorter, so it holds less than the standard KSG by a couple of rounds. I'm just looking at that now, and I'm going, yeah, that does hold a few less rounds. But boy, is this a cool looking. If you can see it on Facebook, it's.
I mean, and what a defensive.
And they can see it on Facebook.
There you go.
And YouTube.
Yeah. Just imagine. So if that's cut off, right about at the muzzle, or wherever you want to cut it off, and you can just make it shorter.
Well, and the neat thing about it is it has the built-in foregrip. So that has always been an issue with, especially the shorter KSGs, because as you're pumping that, any slip of your hand, you don't want it to obviously go in front of the barrel. This one being so short that it becomes even more into play.
It has a flashlight built in. Right on the grip.
Yeah,
it's almost not noticeable, but that's whoa, boy.
So super neat. It's here for sale, and it's I think about the same price as a normal KSG. So there you go.
I don't like that.
For the Gun of the Week. Guys, let's jump to a break, because when we come back, we're going to talk about 2025 SHOT Show, some neat things and some not so neat things that came out that you may or may not want. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms and Range. We'll be back right after the break.
Now that it's SHOT Show's over. When it was going on, it was hard to kind of determine what's really good and what's not. Now, everybody in the world, there's so many videos out there.
Is there?
It's
Anything
just
good,
amazing.
though? I'm just checking.
Well, there's just some stuff that is fun. Like one of the ones that is out there. What I liked about Pew Pew Tactical, the guy likes, just said, just for the heck of it, pardon me, that he really likes odd stuff. And so he went around and tried to find some of the oddest things that were out there. And one that I saw a video. It's a break open single shot shotgun, but it has a magazine feeding tube. You break it up, it automatically loads, and so they said it really isn't more advantageous than a regular pump gun. But you could add it to a single action. It's got a tube on top, and it feeds it as you break it open and close it. You got to pull the shells out unless it has an ejector.
It doesn't fly out by itself?
Well, if it has an ejector, that's built into the shotgun. It's just an added tube that you will you have to watch a video. But he said it was really, really, really odd. He just picked out ugly guns. He picked out things that are weird, but not a lot. But he said I had about 7 out there. They're just some unusual things, and we'll be talking about some of these. But there's some great
5
things
seconds.
out there.
All right. Here at BC6 First Warning weather for today. Cloudy skies, rain showers, possible freezing rain in the afternoon, high of 38. Tonight, cloudy skies, low of 28. For Sunday, mostly cloudy skies, high of 36. Currently 35 degrees on your Severe Weather Station News Radio 610 WTVN.
Traffic, weather, and interesting talk. News Radio 610 WTVN.
I still just want to play music one day.
I think
DJ.
I want to have the people on Facebook and YouTube comment on who does a better job at the weather. That's all I want on this.
All right.
Let's see it on there. Let's hear it on there.
Eric.
Yes.
Eric,
Yep.
what? Eric, what?
She says Eric does a better job with the weather.
She doesn't count. She's not
what's
the
that?
audience.
What did you say, Ella? He looks better, too. And he looks better, Ed.
I mean, post that picture on Facebook.
What did he say?
Can they hear you, Ella?
Yes.
Okay, they hear. I can
What pleasure are you referring to?
I asked her.
We need to take a vote. So Facebook needs to see the photo and decide if Eric should grow his hair out or not.
It was a photo that was done, Ed. Here, you can see it, Ed.
Oh, my God.
Huh?
How long ago was that?
How long was the hair? How long ago?
You almost kind of look like Keanu Reeves in that picture.
See, I said you look like a movie star.
I know it. I don't know if I can afford waking up early to have to do my hair, though.
Rock with a cop.
I know it. Well, okay, we'll see. Maybe we'll post it out there.
I don't think so.
It was photoshopped, Ed.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric. Joined today with Ella at the control. You know, we don't give Ella enough credit.
We don't.
She's the one who actually...
Thanks.
Yeah, she does. She really, Ella does a great job on the backside.
You do, Ella.
And actually...
I will give you the credit where credit is due.
Filled in for our weaknesses. Guys, 2025 SHOT Show did a few weeks ago, and we never really got a chance to go over some of the new things. Some of them were, I think, just okay. Honestly, I was a little disappointed with nothing exciting coming out. But there was a few neat things. One of the ones we've talked about a few times, and we'll just touch upon it because, for me, it's one of my favorite things that came out. The Caltech P57, JC.
Yeah.
And that, we're still waiting to see our first one, but that is the...
But that was, honestly, that was kind of the hit of the show, only because it's unusual and it's inexpensive, and it's everyone loved it because they said no recoil. It was an internal magazine. So there's no magazine you can take off. It's internal. It holds 12 rounds of 5.7 in a super lightweight gun, 4-inch barrel. No recoil.
It looks really neat.
Really neat. And the MSR is like $399 for the thing. So they said they're just going to get him with people wanting this.
We already have a list of people going here. JC, Savage Arms, and you touched upon it with Hickok 45 last week. They came out with the 22 lever action rifle, and you would say, okay, everyone has it.
Yeah.
But it looked old school. It looked, the wood on it, it looked kind of neat.
Right, it very, very neat, and I'd love to have one of these. And this is the first This is the first lever action that Savage has made since the 99, which the 99 came out in 1899, but it was all the way up. But it's one of the best lever actions ever made. And I'm so sorry they stopped making it. Too expensive to produce. But now they have this little 22. Like you said, it's old school. It's got buckhorn sights on it, although you can. It's kind of rounded on the top a little bit. You have to use their proprietary mounts if you want to put a scope on it. So you have to get their scope mount for it. But it's really cool and inexpensive.
Now on the other side of it, they also announced their Stance XR. Why are they coming out with piss? I mean, it looks like every small 9mm in the K. I don't know why. I mean,
it's just
I don't know, and it wasn't necessarily. I don't know.
Just the market. Everybody now with concealed carry being so accessible, everybody wants to make the same thing. These micro 9s, as we call them, that 6 inches by 4 inches is pretty much the standard. Well, Canik. That's another thing. They said they have so many back orders on that. Don't expect to see it soon. But Canik also came out with a micro. Now holds 12 rounds. It comes with a 12 and a 15 round magazine. But it looks like every other.
And I don't know. Personally, I don't know if someone walks in the door and they're asking for a micro 9. I don't think I'm going to the Savage case. I mean, I don't know. But just speaking of Canik, JC, did you see where they are expanding their U.S. production? So now they have some U.S.-made Caniks going forward.
And what's unusual, we need to do a segment on this, on Turkish guns. Because everyone goes, Turkish guns. Winchester makes guns there, but the Canik made this one is made in Turkey, and that we have a lot of following. One of our former staff members here just swore by those, and now they're going to have a U.S. U.S. company, so it'll be made in the good old U.S. of A.
We touched upon it last week with Hickok, but Charter Arms, who kind of known for the revolvers, came out with something called the Double Dog revolver. So they're kind of neat. They're the first one out is a 38 357. But it also comes with a 9mm cylinder that you can swap in and out. All in one package. Kind of neat looking.
And I've owned Charter Arms since the 70s. They're just an underrated a gun, just because it's not a Smith or not one of the other ones, big name guns. But they are great. They're reliable and they're wonderful. But having that ability to yourself undo a screw, stick in a new cylinder. And not only that, it doesn't take clips. You can load them. They have these little piano wire kind of things in there, so you just slide in and
a handgun. But they also came out, and I think this came out before Shop, because I think we've had the Walther PP and 32 with the threaded barrel. Which is kind of neat.
This is really, really cool. That was my first carry gun, was a Walther PP. I had my choice A or PP. It was long enough ago that each $94 a piece, and new, and so I took the PP because it was bigger. Well, I haven't made these since the year 2000, so it's been like 25 years. They haven't been in existence. It's just a little bigger. There's a KS which uses the PP frame with a shorter barrel, but this is really, really nice, and it was a great carry gun. And 32, I'm happy about that.
Well, big news, and this one is cool for Staccato fans, but they came out with, I think it's called the Staccato HD, maybe the P4 and P4. It's going to take Glock mags for all those fans of the Staccato product line.
Bring your checkbook and maybe have to cash in a few stocks to get one of these. I think it's in the $2,200 range or whatever, but Staccato is like up there in the upper echelon. But the fact that it takes Glock mags, that's great.
Yeah. Century Arms came out with a new partnership with John Sharps, the Sharps brothers, to bring an upscale U.S. AK-47 to the market. So there's been kind of a resurgence in AK-47 sales for us. I think people, it's kind of cyclic at times, but we get a lot more people looking, and not looking just at the inexpensive ones, but looking at arsenals and possibly this one when it comes out. But
that's one thing. They've never been like the most accurate, but that's reliable. It's that reliability that all the preppers say, hey, if you're going to have one, get one of those. But yeah.
JC, talk about names from the past. And honestly, I didn't even know they were still making firearms. Bushmaster now has come out with a couple new variations of ARs.
Well, yeah, especially the old style things. But Bushmaster, that company's had now, been there. The original one, it changed name to Wyndham, and then they sold the name to someone. And now it went defunct, and now it's out again. So I don't know who's really in charge. It's buying the name and how this is going to come out. But yeah, they're back in business. And I actually haven't read any of the stats before. Bushmaster before was really, really a top-notch, gun. So we'll have to see how this one goes.
Now,
but speaking of that, who else came out with H&R? H&R, Harrington and Richardson, is back there offering retro of semi-automatic legal versions of the M16. So you're going to look at them. They have the A1 and A2 varieties, and it's for all those vets who want to say, "Hey, let's take a look." And it's got the carry handle, the whole thing. But so H&R. So I have retro. That was one of the ones that I'd missed earlier that they came out, but they look really, really cool. So it had a lot of interest.
Mossberg came out with coming out with the 590 RM. It's a magazine-fed shotgun. In Mossberg, I feel they've always been up there neck and neck with kind of Remingtons when you come to some of the basic defense. But I'll tell you, I don't know what the heck happened to Remington. I mean, we went the other day. I went to go show a customer an 870. We didn't have one on the shelf, John. And I went to go look. I'm like, how did we not have one on the shelf? There's none to order. I don't know what's going on with them. But
it's not the old Remington. We all know that the Remington had been out for 216 years, I think, as a company. The oldest company, it folded up like Winchester did, got reorganized. Someone else bought it. They retained some of the employees. But it just isn't. It's not the same as the old Remingtons. And again, I was surprised they still even make the Model 1100. You can get those.
I know. It's kind of strange.
Really kind of strange. But Mossberg, that's what the Army uses.
Yeah.
I mean, in the military, they've been using those for years. Those 590s, and just really, really excellent shotguns. I got a few, and they're great. I love them.
Remington Ammo, different story. They're still coming out with different things. They came out with something at SHOT, which I thought was kind of interesting. They announced a new low decibel for 10 gauge. Which maybe low recoil, but low decibel. So I guess intended for the judge or the governor or something.
If you're shooting anything in your house for have you better have earplugs on or be shooting a 22 or something, because I'm telling you, it is loud inside. So that looked really, really good. What else do we have with that? Oh, Taurus, their executive revolvers. You talked about a little bit about that. They really are top notch. Things are really happening. And by the way, last thing, we sold 1.2 million guns this last year. So the 66th month in a row, over 1 million new firearms sold in the United States.
Yeah. Woo-hoo. Hey, before we go, I want to wish my brother Dale a happy birthday. And I also want to give it another big shout out to my friend Lance, who's going to donate his kidney to his father next week.
Wow.
And God bless you and good luck.
Guys, thanks for spending the time with us. Be back next week. Let's be careful out there.
Listen on the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, news, talk, and sports radio. Podcasts too. Download the app. Free. Never sounded so good.
We did good. We got a lot of this in.
Winning Retirement Radio.
One of the things that inspired me as a young person when I learned about Abraham Lincoln was the fact that
all right, Ellen, you got me thinking now.
He became a senator from Illinois, and before ultimately becoming States.
All right, I gotta. How long is it going to take it to grow out, though?
When things failed, they persevered.
I don't know how fast your hair grows. I would guess 2 months.
At the top
What's going to happen in between?
News Radio 610 WTV.
It'll get gradually longer. That's how hair works.
All right. I'll go back to the drawing board. It's been my whole life looking like this. Maybe it's time for a change. All right, you ready?
Pleased with our.
All right.
They ended up purchasing two.
This is Eric from OnTarget. This week we keep you updated on your right to keep and bear arms, and the Gun of the Week is sponsored by U.S. Law Shield. Tune in right here Saturday at noon or live from LAPD Studios on Bethel Road.
If you're ready to get better sleep for less, visit us at
Tune in tomorrow at noon or live from LAPD Studios on Bethel Road.
Age-related macular degeneration.
Tune in today at noon or live from LAPD Studios on Bethel Road.
Developing geographic atrophy.
When you coming back to shoot?
GA can be unpredictable and.
I don't know.
It's been like 2 years, dude.
When you grow your hair out.
Ooh, okay, an ultimatum. Okay, all right. I will.